Wealthy Redditors, what are some services or products you pay for that the common man might not know exists? There's insurance on fine art. And I don't mean, sorry you lost it in the hurricane. Here's your paycheck insurance. I mean, the area is flooded and riots are breaking out. We're going to send a SWAT-like team to helicopter in and fly your assets out of the area and into a safer place kind of insurance. I work with celebrities for a living and they have a lot of cool crap. Most of them have a system called Crestron in their homes where they control everything from music to temperature to the alarm system from an iPad type device. They all have house managers, which is apparently the new PC term for butler. Oh, and this is a big one. Night nannies, or night nurses. In addition to having a daytime nanny, when a celebrities have a baby, they almost always hire a woman to come in the evenings and spend the night taking care of the infant. If the celebrity mom is breastfeeding, the night nanny will come wake up the celeb at regular intervals. Then when the feeding is over, take the baby and soothe it back to sleep. It makes the whole newborn experience way easier than it is for us normals. There are a handful of night nannies that everyone uses, and they make serious bank. As a doctor, we do house calls for very wealthy patrons of the hospital. We can set up a whole hospital suite in the comfort of your personal mansion, with private nurses and staff. It gives you optimal care, prevents highs, and gives you much more dignity when dying. Plus the food is 10 times better when your private chef is making it. In Russia, rich people were using ambulances as taxis so they could get through traffic quickly. Cops have started pulling over ambulances to see if the people are actually injured or sick in an attempt to curb this practice. That's terrible. Some services are that exclusive, not even the rich know they're being provided. When it's done well they'll never know, though it costs a fortune. As crew on a Superyacht, here's a few. Like fresh buffalo mozzarella? No problem. We'll send the helicopter to pick it up from Italy every morning before you wake up. Mention possibly going out for dinner the next night. Okay, we'll book tables at all the best places and pay a few grand in cancellations to the ones you didn't turn up to, and also prep for dinner on board in case you change your mind last minute. Like a specific spot in a marina, if you mention it in passing, a deckhand will be heading into the office with 10k in an envelope to make sure it's ours. It'll seem like good luck. Talk about possibly going to the beach that day? We'll send a team in to rake and tidy it, set up sun lounges and parasols, snacks and supplies. And if you don't use it, you'll never know it existed. Things like squads of Ferraris at your door, champagne and caviar are all easy, standard fare stuff. Asking for seemingly impossible things, and having it instantly provided because we've already thought of it is a very specific service. When done right it also makes it look like you've done nothing to provide it. That's utterly fascinating. My friend works for a company called Bluefish, who basically make anything come true for the wealthy, including playing a gig with Journey. A mate of mine works on a Superyacht, £350 million, for some playboy billionaire, and part of his job is to get rid of the passed out H every morning and take them back to shore, then line up the next flock, like a H liaison manager of sorts. Side note, he took him out on a fishing trip and the guy insisted on using used lobster and beluga caviar as bait. Well, I'm not really rich, but I'm black, so when I enter clothing stores, I get my own employees to follow me around the store and grab clothes for me so I don't have to. It's pretty kick butt. I work retail and I'm super attentive to everyone. Can I start you a fitting room? Set those up at the counter so your hands are free, etc. And I'm always afraid black people will think I think they are stealing. See? 1. Full service travel agent. Books flights and hotels and arranges visas. Also handles money for you when you travel to another country. Got a problem? Don't call the airline or hotel. Call the agent. She'll fix it or get fired. No pleading or arguing. 2. Private clubs. Not country clubs per se, but exclusive membership only clubs that give you a place to go where you'll always experience a particular standard of quality. 3. Driver. Having a driver allows you to work in the car. Further, the driver sits in the car all day, so you can double park and not need to worry about parking. He'll just move it when cops arrive. 4. Private suites at sport events. At Madison Square Garden, For instance, your suite is like a living room with a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the event floor. You are also given access to a lounge area where you can watch the players come out of the locker room and onto the event floor. Lastly, you also have access to private seats on the event floor, so you can walk between your suite and the event floor whenever you feel like it. You just reminded me of my childhood. Now I walk to save bus fare money and eat off the MCD dollar menu. The best secret? Everyone delivers. Every store, every restaurant, every establishment you can imagine delivers. They send the manager on duty. When you call and provide a well-known address, anyone will deliver anything. Private client banking. I don't know that I pay for it, but I have it because of the business I do with the bank. Examples. Got a car loan without having to do anything but sign on the dotted line. I didn't fill out a single field on the form. The bank girl talked to the dealership and they worked it all out. She called me up. I went by and signed. Boom, done. I'd already been driving the car for a month. No fees on anything. Home mortgage where they fill out everything and just have me sign. Everything is just easy. They really do take care of everything. Maybe this is normal, but I haven't filled out a deposit slip in years. They transfer money for me over the phone, and once I needed 25k in cash and they had it waiting for me. 5k is the normal daily withdrawal limit. I got this when I started at a big law firm in Manhattan, as did everyone in my class. I felt a little awkward given that my net worth was around negative $186k. But I assume they figure enough of us will turn out actually rich that it's worth handing it out like candy. I worked as a concierge for Amex Platinum and Black Cards. Inbound call center. Got some insane requests. We did absolutely anything the customer wanted as long as it was legal. You'll be amazed how many thousands of people don't buy tickets themselves, don't plan their own weddings, engagements, doctor's appointments, arrangements to pick their kids up from ballet school random location. Imagine calling a stranger in another country and trusting them to arrange a decent company, using another stranger's resources to pick up your kid and then bring them to your house. Insane. I'm not wealthy and don't pay for this anymore, but younger Redditors may not know that almost any laundromat you go to has a service where you drop off dirty clothes and pick them up later clean and folded, and it's relatively cheap. If I'd known this as a young bachelor, it would have changed my life. I worked for a rich woman in Beverly Hills for a few months. She had me go buy a particular candle from some place where they have to buzz you in. It was a large, but simple enough looking vanilla scented candle. $1,200. After you gave her the candle and left, she broke it open and took the ounce of C you were really sent out to buy. I guess most of them have been mentioned. Concierge is probably the biggest one I didn't really notice until I went to uni. The ones people at school tend to have the biggest trouble believing are the less regular ones. They're usually people that are effectively there to know what you like. My mum used to have a stylist that would come by once a month with new clothes. But since he worked regularly with my mum, he knew what she liked and he knew her style. So it was very much not even a shopping venture for her. She would just get, once a month, new clothes that she loved. This, of course, added to my frustration of having to sit around in stores all day with my mum as a kid, only for her to buy nothing. The grocer would come 3 times a week and was essentially the same deal. He would scour the farmers markets and whatnot in the area and find us the freshest food possible that he also knew we liked a lot. The cook came every day for dinner, made us dinner from those groceries, and would usually stay and eat with us. Then he'd go and make our lunches for school the next day. Similar, he just would learn what we liked and what we didn't, over time. The opposite of that, the nutritionists, which I suppose are becoming more common and thus, more affordable. Growing up, he was the bane of my existence. We had to see him once a month and it would basically always seem that we would have to eat less good food and more tasteless health crap. Perhaps young me demonized him in my head. Also, we usually got our hair cut at home, which people usually find weird. And, another thing that's becoming more popular recently, there was a service that, if we had to fly somewhere for vacation, we'd usually pack the night before. Someone would pick it up, and then it'd be at our destination when we arrived. I actually find it sort of cool that the cook stayed and ate with your family after he cooked for you. Leaving your clothes at your favorite hotel. At good hotels you just leave most of your clothing behind. They will clean and store it. Then when you check into your room again, it will be neatly hanging in your closet drawers. At even better hotels they will deal with the seasonality of your clothing. This is not something that you have to mention. As a regular guest they just do it. Nice try, hotel housekeeping employee. It's not what they, or we, I'm likely close to this and I'm just getting a taste of what happens. Pay for. It's what they, we, get for free. I'm shocked at some of the things. Tickets for concerts? Oh, those are free. Oh, you don't wait outside. We have a special entrance for you. Please come in. Want to stay in our hotel? Stay for next to free. Eat and drink for free. And have all the transportation you need for free. Forgot sunglasses? Let me get you a pair. For free. It's crazy and kind of cool. Free for those who can afford it. Very expensive for those who can't. We have a client at the vet I work for who has a dog nanny. The clients are an older couple. She is a lawyer. I believe her husband is a cardiologist. They have 2 standard poodles who are like children to them. The nanny brings the dogs to the vet, groomer and walks them several times every day. If the clients are going out of town she stays at their home while they are away. She has also gone on vacation with them to watch the dogs. She also does some light cooking for the owners as well as some other errands. But I would say 75% of her job is just making sure the dogs are happy and healthy. A friend of mine worked as office staff for a woman who came from old money. She had various houses all over the place and had office staff at each location who spent their days doing for her the things you need done when you have tons of cash and nothing to do all day. This woman would beckon my friend with requests like last month when I was in Rome. I saw a jacket in a window I really liked. Get me the jacket. So my friend would spend days talking to the concierge at the hotel the woman stayed at, the limo driver and various people trying to figure out what jacket she was talking about. She was usually successful in getting this woman whatever she wanted. This same woman called her into her office one day and said, I just heard that people pay 99 cents to download a song from the internet. That's a lot of money. Who can afford to do that? This is the same day the same woman spent $30,000 on a bracelet. My friend had to do all this woman's Christmas shopping and would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars buying various relatives and acquaintances big ticket items like big screen TVs. She gave my friend, who busted her butt working for this woman, a Christmas present too, a set of cheap placemats. I'm not wealthy, but I do okay. I paid someone $600 once to reattach the front cover to one of my books. I collect books. It was rare. He was a conservator. Yes, it was worth it. There is an iPhone app only available to millionaires. It's called VIP Black. You can download it for $999, but you can't not use it until you prove to them you have at least $1 million in assets. There is a special chip in Centurion cards that alerts high-end retailers when you enter their store. It lets their concierge know your buying history to give them an idea of what you like. They greet you on the floor and bring out a rack of crap they think you will like. Only ever dealt with one customer who had a Centurion card that I know of, and we had standing orders to not draw attention to him and to treat him like street rabble. He lived down the block from our store and did not want attention near his home. He would deliberately stand in line to be served by a clerk he recognized so he could be treated like a normal, very cool guy. This is certainly not just for the mega rich like some of the other posts, but for people with a lot of disposable income. Note, I think this is only available in SF and maybe Seattle right now. There's an iPhone app called Postmates, which is essentially an on-demand personal assistant. You open the app, type in what you want, a large Big Mac meal from McDonald's, a video game, a wrench, pretty much anything you can walk into a store and buy, and they'll go get it and deliver it to you for a fee of I think like $7.99. Pretty awesome for those times when you really want something but you're too lazy to go get it. There's actually a whole class of apps like this, where for a small to medium fee or markup, certain types of transactions become much more convenient. I'm thinking of things like Uber Black car service, a bit more expensive than a cab but 100 times more pleasant. TaskRabbit, kind like Postmates I think. Exec, like Postmates, but more for services than goods. For example, gardening, cleaning, I think they even build IKEA furniture if you're too lazy, and I'm sure a ton more. I'm not rich, but laundry. I send a lot of it out. It started with only my dry cleaning and some bedding. I have an overstuffed, king-sized comforter that's too big for my own washing machine. Now I have it done with a lot of my clothing. Much of it I do myself, but anything that's stained, expensive or delicate goes out to a service. They don't typically pick up or deliver, but if you ask politely and tip well they'll do that too. Professional film processing. This one would have been more common a decade ago and probably isn't relevant to most people anymore. Most people would just take their film to Walmart or a similar place, but I would have it done individually by a guy in a pro shop, and it made a big difference in the final products. He would cut the film down and develop each image on its own, so photos for which the exposure was off could be handled alone and he could compensate for my errors. He would do the analog equivalent of photoshopping during the development process for any photos that needed work, as well. I paid a small fortune throughout that time, especially considering that I actually could have done my own developing for pennies, but it was quite worthwhile. Other services I know of. 1. A family friend paid for a sleep nanny. For about $20k they had a woman come to their home almost every night for the first few months of their daughter's life. Her career purpose was training infants to sleep through the night. I have no idea whether it was really worthwhile or not. 2. Child discipline. A teacher I had as a child stopped teaching in her 50s, and now disciplines children professionally. It's like being a nanny, but only when the kids are bad. A parent will call and say their kid bit someone at school. They need him disciplined at 4 p.m. and she will go to their home and stand watch over his timeouts, reel him in during his temper tantrums, etc. The minimum is like 15 minutes for a toddler in timeout. The maximum is living in a family's home for weeks or months overseeing teenagers who have done something awful and are grounded long term. Apparently you can make a fortune doing the difficult bits of parenting. 3. On a similar note, a girl in one of my classes did career shadowing with a guy who oversees the health of kids. Parents hire him to make sure their kids are in tip-top shape. From choosing the best infant formula to tracking height and weight to overseeing shots providing in-home care for kids with the flu whose parents are too busy to take care of them. It sounds like awful work to me, but he seemed to really love his job. No fortune is big enough to endure the tantrums of a hormone-driven teenager. Some of the services I have known the wealthy to have. There are companies that will fly in any food from any place. The famous Voodoo Donuts in Portland does not deliver, but you can find some people who will fly to Portland, pick up what you want, and then bring them to where you are. I met a guy on a plane once who was hand delivering some kind of fish only found in Iran to a client in an embassy in DC. The seat between us had the container, which was some kind of specialized sealed pressurized thing. I think the fish was still alive in there, but I couldn't open it to verify. I wonder if they are allowed to do that after 9/11? Well, maybe they use private jets now. I had a friend whose mom was a pedigree dog breeder. She told me that some of the larger estates would have dog breeders who lived on site. The phrase, "This is my wife and her prize Afghan hounds," was really Afghan hounds raised by a breeder, shown by dog handlers hired just to handle the dogs in the show ring and look good, and attended to a staff of hired groomers. But despite the staff of more than a dozen, they are the wife's dogs. Some wealthy couples do not love one another, but have separate lovers or mistresses that each other knows about without any real bitterness. The marriage was really more for standing. In America, this isn't that common, but in Europe it's weird to not have one. There are special credit cards for the top 1%. Everyone has heard of American Express Black, which they denied existed for the longest time, but then renamed a black program the Centurion. Las Vegas. Holy crap. If you're a big spender, if it is physically possible, those hotels will get it for you. I used to know some IT folk at the MGM Grand who told me of the opulent spending of the hotel for what they called whales. It was not unheard of for a hotel to spend over $1 million for a visit for someone. Of course, that client may lose $1.2 million in gambling, but what he spends in gambling, he gets back in gross opulence beyond anything imaginable. Rare food, not rare for you. Please. Teen H. Sure, why not Rick? Teen Japanese in schoolgirl outfits flown from Japan on an express flight. They'll be told to paint your dong with gold flake lube gel or whatever you asked for while drunk on illegal absinthe. It's happened. Might even happen weekly for one of the 1000 Prince Al Sauds. Till that funky metal Amex card that lady always buys her local organic greens with is issued to the 1% only. I just thought she had been an Amex card holder for a long time, or it was some sort of Amex anniversary edition card. Accountant. I'm in contact with him via email at least once a week. He monitors my accounts and investments as well and will call email special if something throws up a flag. Also makes sure I pay my taxes on time, etc. Most other people only look for one around the 15th of April of every year. He gets a monthly fee including doing taxes and keeping track of stuff. I also consult him before major purchases or investments for advice and to find out the tax ramifications. He handles the accounting for the small business I partially own, myself, my small LLC for rental properties I have, and starting last year monitors my parents' stuff as well. I also get treated kind of like a god when I walk into my local credit union. If there is a line, often a manager will come to me and take me into their office for whatever I need. It's about the only place where I will allow it to happen, and I will throw my weight around a little bit. Otherwise you'd have no clue I have close to $1 million in investment stock, etc, and own a small business. But then again I figure I'm making money on my money, and so are they. So there I will let them treat me specially. I don't drive a flashy car, dress flashy, etc. But the bank knows what I have for sure. TL. DR. Accountant. But all the time. Not just around tax time. Bank. About the only place I don't mind getting my butt kissed. I recently realized I now need one of these. A city ledger account. I was with some people in Aspen, company. They basically had a huge bill come and just said, oh, we will put it on our city ledger account. The waitress brought them this slip of paper like an invoice. They signed it and the $15K dinner bill went away and we walked out. So me being super curious, I had to ask what this was. It was explained that in certain high-end cities, Aspen, Monaco, St. Tropez, you can open these credit lines with the city where they basically have verified, yay, this dude balls hard. I don't know how much money that is, but they could basically walk into any store in Aspen, put it on the ledger account, and the city sends them a bill at the end of the year. I was blown away. Have you heard of stave puzzles? They sell wooden hand-cut jigsaw puzzles ranging from $100 to $8,000. They're really awesome and I've had the luxury to play with some, but I'd have to take out a loan if I wanted to buy one. Nah, just sell a kidney. Private stockbroker. This person manages my family's entire accounts and knows exactly when to buy, sell, or hold. She also watches over our finances and makes sure nothing bad happens to our assets. Somehow, our black Amex card number was stolen and was being used to buy $80,000 worth of computer parts in Oklahoma City. We live on the East Coast. In 15 minutes of that purchase, this woman had already contacted us, the police, and Amex. In 30 minutes, the charges were removed. We had a new card with a new number being shipped to us, and the police were tracking the guy. I pay $50 a year for my normal credit card and they call within 30 seconds of me making a purchase that their computers think is suspicious. That is the first time I buy something on a trip. No big deal. Most people know that the wealthy fly private. Not everyone knows that this allows them to just walk, or drive, right up to the aircraft with no security screening or luggage inspection. I would sure do a lot more traveling if not for the indignity of useless intrusions and radiation exposure. I used to have an extremely well-off friend whose mother would hire a designer for their Christmas tree. Just the tree. I was amazed. Not rich, but the owners I work for do very well. They get so many perks it is ridiculous. From their houses, cars, gas for said cars, insurance, concert tickets, vacations, dinners. I could go on, but you get the point. I swear it is how the rich stay rich. I do know this insane designer who actually pays to have photographers and 2 models to follow him wherever he goes. They travel with him. He even has one guy holding a bright light around him so he has a permanent spotlight. I saw him at an event and thought he was some big shot, but my friends told me he's actually not. But it works. All the other photographers flock to him since they assume the guy with the perma spotlight has to be important. Since I haven't seen it posted yet, here's a perk that some rare services provide. Rare trading. Basically everyone knows that there are some products that are rarer than rare. We are talking like only 2 exist on the planet and one is in a museum protected by God's rare. So with these items comes people that organize scheduled trades. Envy is a powerful tool, but so is bargaining. Oh, you have that one-of-a-kind car that I'd like to take for a spin this weekend? How about I borrow it and you get this one-of-a-kind artwork for 3 months in your summer vacation home? Stuff like this is usually professionally organized through some agencies that do the detailed work of confirming how valuable an item is or if it's a fair trade. Source: I know a guy that does this with super old and super rare vehicles ranging from new Italian supercars to borrowing a World War I tank for the weekend. The biggest service I've seen rich people use and how they keep their wealth is through school. I used to be completely oblivious to how private schools worked until recently. I've learned a lot from going to a top university and joining a fraternity, where I've surrounded myself with many people in the top 5% of wealth. Despite me being lower middle class, the richest people isolate themselves in top universities and organizations, where they can have big money orgies and make connections with other rich people to keep the family money flowing. This happens all the way through private elementary schools up through college. What people get the best jobs in America? Those who go to Ivy League schools. Who goes to Ivy League schools? People with connections and money. There's a book called The Price of Admission that exposes how messed up this system is. It says only about 40% of open spots at top private schools are really open to the average person. The other 60% is filled by the children of celebrities, politicians, CEOs, and wealthy alumni. These people get in top universities because they donate massive amounts of money alongside their application. It also helps that these people were able to be sent to the top boarding prep high schools in the nation, which highly helps their admittance to top universities. So the fraud here is that our top high school boarding prep schools and universities are filled, not with people who are super smart and are hard workers, but people that have connections and money. They then graduate from these top schools and get the top jobs in America, and the motion stays perpetual and passed down to their kids. My aunt gets her Christmas lights hung by professionals. It's kind of a cool service though. They come replace bulbs, stretches of lights if they go out, and they store them during the summer. Her house is 3 stories and they're obviously trained to safely get up there and hang them, so it kind of makes sense. But still. My cousin who is very wealthy moved to a new house, and he hired people to not only move all of their stuff from their old house to their new house, but also to unpack everything and set it up in the new house. He and his family were on vacation, so they were able to come back to their new house all unpacked and ready to go. Just something I never knew existed. Also, at this new house you can only get cell phone reception if they add you to some device. Heated elements under the marble floors to keep your feet warm when you get out of the shower. Groundskeepers. Insanely beautiful and remote vacations. Summer home at the Palace Hotel. I'm an AV designer and programmer. My clients will pay my $150 HR to babysit the Comcast or UVerse technician when they come out. If a Comcast box is bad, they will pay my full hourly rate for me to take it to the Comcast storefront, wait in line, and bring them back a new box and get it all activated. Typically $450 for a box replacement. All because they don't want to wait for the service tech to come out next week between 8 and 5. GF mother is a high-end landscape architect. She was called in to design the plantings for a summer house for a very wealthy couple. Apparently they had a driveway planted with aromatic plants designed to be driven over and crushed, so when you get out of the car it smells nice. Of course you can't go around crushing plants all the time, so there was a separate driveway for all the help. This is the fact that makes me think we have some crazy income gap. And maybe I should be playing drums on New York real estate, or grinding up the rich to feed the poor. My doctor friend once told me how there was a patient who had to come in week after week for pain in his penis. You may be wondering what this has to do with what rich people do. Then keep reading. The doctor told his patients that he had an infection in his penis and he had to know why. He asked the patient again and again until he told him the truth. The patient told my friend that he was a college student and on the side, he would work as a nude server at parties for rich gay men, along with other guys his age. His job there was to inject whatever drink the men wanted into his penis and then pee it out in their wine glasses. He apparently made $500 a night in tips alone. Needless to say, the doctor told him that if he doesn't quit, he will lose his penis from how bad the infection was. Honestly, $500 in tips isn't enough. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.